he doesn't know, so he's asked someone else, and my guess is Dave Watson, the old England goalie coach, is right. But yeah, and look, you know, we're talking about people bouncing, we're talking about low hands with Jordan Pickford before the game.
Can I just take that back 1 second? Is there anything in the fact that, you know, Gary mentioned low hands, is there anything that left hand actually being behind his, it looks like it's behind his back and it's coming out?
We talked about it, and it is a detail that goalkeepers do.
Well, you said that Dean Henderson is one that does that same thing.
He throws his hands behind his back, yeah. And you ask these guys, and they'll say, well, this is what suits me. And it's horses for courses at time. You ask him Mignolet, and he'll turn around and say, this is how I play in goal. And there's no script to it. There's no set technique. But what you do say is that, yeah, it is harder to get out of that crouched position. And Dave Watson, not Gary Neville, was right.
What's also interesting is the hand that he goes with, which leads us to our next sort of burning question. And it's one you probably hear all the time from us in the studio. He's gone with the wrong hand. We often say that about a goalkeeper. We've got some more examples there, Jamie. Is there such thing as a right and a wrong hand in those examples?
There's a time and a place for a top hand save. And that's one that you're looking at, and you're looking at the angle of the strike, you're looking at the height of the strike, and where you can manipulate the ball. And I mean, that's one fantastic goal from Patrick Bamford, which I'm sure he would have liked to have replicated tonight. But you're looking at it, and you look at Kasper there, and you can see him go with two hands there and realise, and that's technically a brilliant thing to do, to go with two hands. And to realise, I'm not going to get it with my left hand, I'm going to go with my right. The only difficulty with it, and that is a great spot there, is that at some point, with your arm going across your face, you will lose sight of the ball. And that's the tricky point. That's the one where you want to get a touch on the ball. There's slightly less feel on where you can manipulate it and get a touch. But that you know, there, Kasper got it with where he made a choice.
You know, when people say that, I'm just trying to think, basically, if I go with my left hand, is the reason you go with your right, I mean, you just mentioned something I never thought about, it actually could cover your eyes, you can't maybe see it at a certain time, but I'm just trying to think, is it, you're longer, aren't you, basically, if you go with that hand?
You're all right if you've got your left arm bent like you have now.
Hey, yeah. I've seen your finger, don't say about not unbent.
I thought doing YMCA for a minute.
We've done everything else on this show.
No, I think, yeah, but it's. I think the trajectory of the ball, where the ball's going. If it's, you saw Fabianski pull off a perfect example today of one. And here's what Lloris, he goes with the top hand and he realises that.
But is it the wrong hand? That's what we say. Are we wrong? Are we right?
There's
no such thing.
There's no such thing. There is a time and a place for the top hand. This, again, sometimes you're just taking your hat off to it and it's an incredible strike. Here, Lloris gets his footwork in, gets his step across. He goes with two hands and he realises when he's in midair, and it's the perfect time to do it because you've gone in the air, you're judging the flight of the ball, you can adjust in the air. And he's there going, well, I can't get to it with my left hand. I'm going with my top hand. It serves me a better purpose. Sometimes it's just a brilliant goal.
But both keepers never got it with the right hand. So what I'm saying is, you're saying it doesn't matter. It's horses for courses, if you like.
Yes, yeah, absolutely.
So what I'm saying is, in those situations, were those keepers right to go with that right hand?
Well, they'd gone with both hands, and in their judgment, that it was the point where they were in midair or going for the ball, and they went, I tell you what, top hand here. The goal's, I think, 294 square feet wide. It's a big area to cover. Sometimes if they hit it off the crossbar...
You're on the wrong show.
But you know what? If it goes in, it's your fault. Did you remember it? One of the bugbear you've got, Jamie.
Yeah, there's another one.
Coming out
and I think to myself as a defender, and I think at times when I've played in games and a striker gets put through and I'm trying to come across and make that block, and I always think with strikers in that situation, they're not picking a spot. They're actually thinking, I want to get my shot off quick before this block comes. So they're just trying to get a shot away on target. And the things are, when goalkeepers get involved and they're too close and the pace of the ball beats them and it just trickles down the middle. I'll show you what I mean. And this is a goal from this season against one of the top goalkeepers in the world, in Ederson. And I remember being in this position so often, I get so frustrated with my goalkeeper. So let's say, for instance, we've got him behind, Son's in that position. And before we even get there, as a defender, even in that position, even though it looks like Son's ahead of me, I know he's still got to take another touch. He's still got to pull that leg back and get the I know I've got time to get across. I'd certainly be confident I could make a block there. And then as I run on, my goalkeeper comes from nowhere, stop there. And I think there's no way Son is picking a corner. He's shooting from the edge of the box because he knows the defender's there, try and get the shot away, and the keeper comes out, and it's all about can I beat him. Now, if the keeper stays there, it's so easy. I mean, that was a frustration for me. I used to have arguments with goalkeepers about it all the time, talking about, closing the angle. You don't need to close the angle in that situation because I've closed the angle. I've done that job. And you just see it go past the goalkeeper there. And look, if he stays in his goal, he's basically just picking it up. What is the reason goalkeepers get involved there? Is it just that quick reaction? Or do goalkeepers actually think they've made a mistake, or are they wrong there?
I think there's a couple of things in there, and if it was you chasing them, that's why they've come out, because they know you're not going to catch the striker.
5 minutes left.
It's going to penalties.
I think that Ederson's impulse, and he does it a lot, is to come. He will do it a lot, and he's so quick off his line that he gets in contact with the striker. What was key in there was Son's first touch was impeccable. It was in his path, and it was never out of control. So he's never going to make up that ground, and that distance between Son and Ederson there was one that Ederson effectively wanted to be bang up tight against him, but because that touch
doesn't need to. That's what I'm doing. That Cancelo's up against him, or I'd be up against, and that's my point. You talk about narrowing angles as a goalkeeper. I feel like that's what I've done as the defender.
Yep, and you're right. And the thing with it is you trust your defender. Doing nothing is a good option. You just let the player shepherd them out, and you confuse the situation by joining in. And also, you trust yourself to make the save. Even if you do get beaten and someone has a snapshot, Son has a snapshot from there, back yourself to save it. You practice every day to make these saves. Back yourself to save it. You're making it harder for yourself by getting closer like that. So I think, sometimes doing nothing is a good option. Trust your defender. They're good defenders.